Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a quick repair video on this Carpet Wizard Mega Vac, so stick around to the end to see it in operation. As you can see, this machine's out of operation, and it has been for the entire time that I have been running this car wash, which is about a year. I'm not proud of that, but here's the backstory on getting this machine, installing it, and why it doesn't work. I bought basically 90% of my car wash equipment when I took this place over and remodeled it from a different car wash here in town. So everything was used except for basically my meter boxes. Well, this vacuum, as well as my other vacuums, came in that big used equipment purchase that I got. The other vacuums are just standard vacuums where you just put it in and it's just a vacuum. They're just one setting, it turns on for 5 minutes, and the timer runs out eventually. But this vacuum is actually a carpet shampoo brush vac with a vacuum with two different settings, power vac and turbo vac, and it was not working when I got it. The guy that I bought this equipment from actually recommended that I don't even try to fix this, don't even bother installing it, and I kind of took that as a challenge, like I can get this thing running. Well, it's been on my list, but I've had other projects going on, and this has just been sitting here with this big, ugly notice out of operation sign. So today's the day we get that turned around. Let's get into the diagnosis of how I found the issue and what we're gonna do to get it running. Okay, so upstairs, I call it, on this machine, because there's this middle door and then this top door is basically where all of your electronics are, circuit boards, fuses, etc. And if you can see this with the lighting and everything that we have right now, I have 24 volts coming into the machine. I've tested it. We've got 120 actually going in, and then we've got a transformer feeding us 24 volts, which is what runs the circuit board and the relays and everything else. And I was thinking this was gonna be a simple fix where it would just, a fuse was gonna be out or something. So you've got a 30 amp fuse here, which I tested, and that was good. You got a 2 amp fuse over here, which was good. And then another 2 amp fuse right there, which was good. The transformer was giving me 24 volts, and so I was really stumped here. There's also, in the very upstairs, underneath this cover, you know, some more stuff going on. There's a pump, and there's the motors for the vacuum. Well, I don't know if you can see in this video. Let's change angle. Now, as you can see, we know that we've got 120 volts here because I put new bulbs in here. There was no bulbs in originally, but I put these bulbs in and they lit up. So I knew we got power basically everywhere we want power. Got an awesome motorcycle dude over here finishing up his wash. And then one last thing that I also found while digging through this machine trying to figure out what was the issue was I found this silver button up here on the top. And when I push this silver button, if you listen, I think the camera will pick up this audio. You can see that light came on right there, and the pump right here on top is vibrating a little bit. You can kind of see that hose vibrating. That is the primer button for this machine, and that worked too. So we basically had everything. The only thing I haven't shown you yet, and what ultimately was the issue, is what's missing right here. It's this big ol' IDX Big 2 timer. So with power and everything going to this machine, this timer was 100% dead. No lights on or anything. I checked the harness, all the wiring connections looked good. And so I started digging deeper into this. So let's take off this cover and I'll show you what I found. This right here is the timer that was dead, and this is what we're gonna be replacing it with. I'll get to this in just a minute. But what I ultimately found when I took this cover off and I had the wiring harness still plugged into the machine on this end was that I did in fact have 24 volts with my tester. I got an electrical tester right here. I did in fact have 24 volts between hot and common. So we had power coming into the unit, and then I took just a little small piece of wire, and I jumped the 24 volts across to the timer output, and I was able to get the machine to run the vacuum and turn on actually. So basically I knew that this machine was dead. I thought that maybe I could replace this 5-volt relay that's right here, because as you can read, if I pull over the top, it says it's a plug-in relay, but that thing's soldered or glued in there, because that does not plug in like it indicates on there. And so ultimately I went shopping and found out that this timer, brand new, is a whopping $700 plus shipping and some change. And so I looked even deeper, and I found this guy over here on eBay. This eBay one right here was only $190 free shipping, which I thought was gonna be an awesome buy. What I didn't realize was that I was making a mistake. So I'm figuring this stuff out, guys. I'm documenting it so that you don't have to make the same mistakes I do starting up a car wash, but it can be done. It's just trial and error stuff. And so what ultimately I bought was, well, this is the one that's dead, right? So on the back here, it has model number BT907, and this one has BT0912. Well, not 0912, just BT912. So they're actually different models and slightly different. I was under the assumption that BT900 series, I should have been thinking clear and realized that this said series, not model. So they're very similar, just slightly different. And I thought it was interesting, there's these warranty stickers on here. The dead one actually has January of 2007 marked out and serial number 1608. And this one has serial number 2679. So I was thinking this one was newer, but the warranty date marked out on this one is 2005. So just a little bit of extra information I thought was unique, that this one seems to be older, but it's had a higher serial number. So a little bit different. Let me show you what the difference is in the two, and I think it's actually still gonna work. Okay, here we have the dead one in the front and the eBay one in the back. So this is the BT07 and this is the BT912. And if you are looking closely, you can see what the difference is. This terminal strip right here is missing over here, and instead has this little terminal strip. And just for reference, so you can see what these read, this says coin power, alarm signal, alarm common. So that's what this one has equipped. And this one has number 1 through 9 with the indication service, which I don't entirely know what that means, but I do know that this one is gonna be able to power the vacuum, because I've done just a little bit of pre-testing before this video to make sure we're not wasting our time. The other reason I think I might still be able to use this eBay one is because I'm gonna call IDX and verify, but I believe I might be able to get a little solder kit and pull this off and solder this terminal strip onto this one. And then what these do is they just pop off just like that. So let's get into this and get this thing wired up so that we can fire it up and see if we're gonna be in operation today. All right, so what we did right there was we basically just swapped the wiring harnesses, because the old one had this wiring harness that just clips right into the machine on top, and the one I bought off eBay was just clipped off like that. So we got that wired in, and I do actually like these because, I mean, they do display a nice broad message. You'll see in just a second. And this just slides right in right here like that, and then there's a couple screws that just go in the back. This, I'll get everything tightened up here in a second. But then this harness just came right up the side, kind of tucks around the back right there, over the top. And then we'll get the camera and come in really close so you can watch me do this. Basically, it's just right here on the top. And I think they call it like a 12-pin connector, something like that. Okay, clip it in. I think it clicked real good now. And then come around to the front here, and I can finally take this sign off, hopefully for good. And there we go. I don't know if on camera this picks up super well, just because of the frame rate and everything, but it's reading, "Welcome to Hoffman Car Wash. Try spot-free remover." It's got a whole message that displays here, as well as how much to deposit and everything else. Right now it looks like it's set up for $2. And then on the front here, I may have not mentioned before, but the only lights that actually worked on these, this was working before, but you got your yellow light. These lights don't work at all. So now the biggest question is, let's get some money and turn this thing on. Now, like I told you guys, I wasn't too surprised that it worked, because I had already tested off camera that something was gonna happen when I plugged this in. What I kind of did was I just held up both timers right here, and I took the terminal block that removes from this one and switched it over to the other one, and we plugged it in. We got something, right? And what I don't know is what I'm losing by not having those service wires that were plugged into the old unit, and what I'm gaining with that alarm block terminal on the left side. But I guess I'll find out over time. For now, we're just gonna stick the quarters in, and you may be able to see this. It counts, so it shows 25 cents, 50 cents. So I gotta get $2 in here. I want recommendations though on what you guys think I should charge for this. My other vacuums are $1 for 5 minutes, and this one will give them 2 vacuum options, either Turbo Vac or Power Vac. So Power Vac gives them more time, and Turbo Vac gives them more suction. So more cleaning power, it says. But there we go. Okay, so I've got it in. The timer is now starting to count down from 9 minutes. But if I press Turbo Vac, we now have suction. So I've been waiting for this for a long time. I may have some dead motors on top because it feels like it should be more, but I know I got that. And I hope you guys could hear that on the audio, because that vacuum being loud and everything. But then you see I still got time on here. I can select shampoo, and I can hear, and you can see this hose vibrating, this compressor's running. Same thing with the spot remover function. So now what I need to do is, down here on the bottom is where the tanks go. So I've got water in this yellow tank, and then I have the solution, the upholstery cleaning concentrate, in this one, and now I just got to get it primed through the hose. This hose I actually bought, like I say, a year ago when I said I'm gonna get this machine running, and I installed it on here and everything, thinking I was just gonna be replacing a fuse and this thing would be up and operational, but instead it sat on here. It's gotten a little bit weathered, but those bristles are still brand new. So now let's prime the machine up and get this working. If you go online, I'll put a link in the description. It's like IVS-vacuums.com. There's parts guides, quick start guides, manuals, troubleshooting guides, all available on there. I just printed this one off because it's just a quick start guide. I figure I'll probably just fold it up and put it inside the machine right here. So that's kind of how I know how this all works. But the containers are just gonna go in there like that. And then these hoses are color coded to the color of the containers. And then we just prime it. Well, we were well over 3 to 5 minutes, guys, and I still wasn't getting anything. So I started doing some more investigating. I was checking out the hoses up the top and the manifold and how that works. And I found out that there's these other hoses in here that were basically disintegrated. They were hidden back in there. And the smaller hoses that I've put inside the tanks, I think were just recirculation lines. And these are actually the suction ones. The problem is I don't have this tubing size, and the solution I've come up with now just for testing purposes is to shove this tubing inside some poly tube, and I believe I've created enough of an airtight seal there that we're going to be able to get some suction through this. And so here's for take 2. Finally making some progress, guys. You can see the water dripping off the end right there. It goes super slow. I was reading in the directions that it's like 1.5 teaspoons of chemical per 9 parts water or something. Just like super low. We're talking teaspoons here. But I can see the priming action happening because I now have this clear poly tube in place, and it's just going to take a little bit longer to get the shampoo to the end and hopefully have a good foaming action, and we're literally in business. I did not think, well, I should say I did think this, but I'm surprised. I'll just put it that way. I'm surprised that we've got this far, and I'm seeing something actually come out of the end of this scrubber brush because it's been sitting there for so long. And this machine wanted to go to the scrapyard really bad today, but I can hear air coming. I think it's starting to foam. I don't know if you can tell, but you can kind of see some white bubbles now coming through. So this is really awesome, seeing it live in action. Well, guys, pretty successful day ultimately. In the end, my thumb was getting tired of pushing that button on the trigger, and I could see the chemical coming through, but I think that these lines really need to be replaced. Here you can see a little bit better picture of just how brittle these hoses are. So I know that those need to be replaced. We know that I probably need to go through these motors. You can't see it in the frame, but there are 3 vacuum motors on the top here. And I was glad to find out that these pumps, this is what's going on here. There's 3 pumps right here that have a drive shaft going through. And when I press this primer button, I'll do it on screen here so you can see. You can see that turning in circles, and it's turning all 3 pumps and pumping through there. But like I say, it's super slow. And ultimately, I'm just glad that I now understand the concepts of this machine and how it works. I think I'm gonna be able to have it running really well now that I know all the ins and outs of what's going on here. And I didn't let the machine get the best of me today. Like I say, it really wanted to be scrap metal, but I'm figuring it out a little bit at a time. So I'm gonna replace those hoses. I may even look online and see what the cost of these pumps are. It may be a good idea just to replace them, since we know it's been sitting for a while and those seals are probably pretty dry. And then, you know, new vacuum motors, but I know that these are fairly inexpensive. So that's a wrap. Hey, I appreciate you guys watching this far into the video. The out of service sign is gonna be going back up on this machine until all the final upgrades can be made. I want this thing working flawlessly when I open it up to the public. So we're gonna get the motors on the vacs upgraded, replace all that brittle tubing that you saw. Now that I know that it works, we're gonna do a brand new decal. I wanna put a credit card reader on here, and I believe that there is a harness right here that we can do that with. I use Nayax card readers in my car wash bays, and so that's what I'm gonna use here. It's a super versatile product, and I was able to go out and get a discount code for all you guys watching. It's gonna be in the description below. That discount code also helps me out, helps my channel. If you guys subscribe to my channel, it helps me out too. Subscribing will also give you updates on part 2 when those final upgrades are gonna be done, and we're gonna be able to get it opened up and everything. I appreciate the pricing recommendations down in the comments. And with that said, guys, until next time, see ya.